They said Earth was young. Too emotional. Too impulsive. Useful in negotiation, idealistic in principle. But never a threat. Humanity had climbed its way to the stars with a handshake in one hand and a pen in the other. And when the Galactic Council opened its doors, Earth stepped in with open arms. Trade, diplomacy, interstellar law, humans adapted quickly. Among the galaxy's old races, Earth was the eager student, never the master. Until the day they took the child. Her name was Alira. 12 years old. The youngest human ever assigned to a diplomatic post beyond the Sol system. A linguistic prodigy. Brilliant, empathetic, calm. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't even armed. Just a child raised to believe peace was something you worked for, not something you demanded. For 2 years, she sat beside counselors 3 centuries older than her, and yet often, she was the one who soothed conflicts. The galaxy marveled. Earth celebrated. She was their message to the stars: we come with purpose, not conquest. Then one meeting ended, and she didn't come back. Reports said her escort shuttle was diverted. An override signal forced its systems offline. A silent Vrake vessel swallowed it mid-transit. No demands. No declaration. No ransom. Just absence. Silence. Earth's ambassadors sent urgent transmissions to the Council. The Vrake responded with vagueness. No knowledge of incident. Investigating. Likely a misunderstanding. Earth demanded footage. Logs. Access. The Council declined. This is a delicate matter, they said. Let protocol work. But protocol was measured in weeks. And Alira didn't have weeks. The Vrake were a founding species. Powerful. Technologically arrogant. Biologically engineered for dominance. They didn't view humans as equal. Not truly. Not in silence. They called Alira a novelty. A symbol. Not a person. And in the shadows of their empire, someone decided to make a statement. Earth's patience cracked. Delegations withdrew. Data embargoes were proposed. Treaties were suspended. But none of it moved the Council. To them, the situation was unfortunate, not urgent. A dozen similar incidents had happened before, they said. Alira's case would be resolved eventually. But Earth wasn't like the others. Humans remember their children. 1 week after the kidnapping, Earth submitted a private request to the Council's Internal Security Archive. It was just one line. A designation, long sealed, never spoken aloud in Council meetings. Counselor Bran, a Zalari diplomat who had worked with Earth since their induction, read the name and went still. He whispered, "They wouldn't dare." But Earth already had. 3 hours later, Earth sent a final message to the Council. No introductions. No formalities. Just 6 words. Then we will awaken the Warden. Across Council space, translations misfired. AI struggled to interpret meaning. Some thought it was metaphor. A political bluff. But Bran remembered the stories. He had once asked Earth's envoy about pre-expansion conflicts. They had avoided the subject. The Warden wasn't a weapon. He wasn't a fleet. He wasn't a threat. He was a fact, recorded, classified, and buried. A relic from humanity's violent adolescence. A singular existence built not for peace, but for absolute resolution. And Earth had locked him away under kilometers of ice, not because they feared others might find him, but because they feared what might happen if he ever woke again. When the Council reconvened, Earth's seat was empty. No further messages. No demands. Just silence. A silence that began to spread. 2 Vrake patrol vessels vanished near the Terran border. A Council observation outpost recorded anomalous energy pulses, followed by complete data corruption. Black box recovery showed only a single frame before deletion, a silhouette standing on a Vrake hull, unarmored, alone, eyes burning white. The Council requested clarification. Earth said nothing. Then came the whispers. A Vrake listening post annihilated in 12 seconds. No orbital strike. No detectable craft. Just shredded metal, airless corpses, and one word carved into the command core, Elira. The Vrake threatened retaliation. The Council begged for negotiation. Still, Earth remained silent. Not a single declaration of war. No speech. No announcement. Just precision. Just motion. Just the quiet, absolute truth that someone was coming, and no one could stop it. In the chambers of the Council, a veteran diplomat from Krylax 3 murmured what many were beginning to think but dared not say aloud. They asked politely. We said no. Now they've stopped asking. And in the void between stars, something human and ancient and engineered for vengeance walked quietly across the dark, searching for one child. And the galaxy began to realize it had made a mistake. The Warden wasn't a name. It was a warning. Not a title assigned, but one earned in the darkest corners of human history. Before Earth joined the stars, before peace became protocol, there were wars so violent they left scars on planetary crusts. Not civil disputes, extinction-level conflicts that fractured moons and turned oceans to steam. And in the final days of the Soul Wars, when no faction could claim the moral high ground, humanity created a solution it never wanted to use twice. Kale Vorin. Born in orbital firestorms, he was drafted before birth, his DNA chosen for resilience, aggression, adaptability. Not trained, grown. Conditioned from infancy, not to obey, but to win. They called his kind silent edge operatives. There were once 12. 10 died in the Saturn uprisings. 1 defected. Kale didn't. He survived every field, every betrayal, every suicide mission handed to him. At 30, he'd led an offensive on the Martian rebellion that ended in 6 hours. No civilian casualties. No survivors on the opposing side. He wasn't fast. He wasn't graceful. He was exact. Records of his deployments were wiped post-war. Not to protect secrets, but to erase the memory of what had to be done. He neutralized an orbital mutiny by venting a habitat with 1 million civilians to force compliance. He ended a planetary siege by poisoning the water of a resistance stronghold, killing children and fighters alike. Not for pleasure. Not for cruelty. For efficiency. He once said, "Victory isn't clean. It just means fewer funerals later." When the wars ended, Earth faced a dilemma. The war was over, but the weapons still breathed. Too valuable to waste. Too dangerous to keep. He refused retirement, declined pardon, ignored courts. He offered a single solution: seal him away. Not as punishment. As preservation. Europa's ice became his tomb. Stasis chambers sunk into silence. No sensors, no transmissions, no beacon. Just a buried file, sealed under Earth's emergency doctrine, labeled with 7 words. Activate only in case of extinction threat. No one ever expected that file to resurface. Not the diplomats. Not the strategists. Certainly not the Council. They had seen Earth's science, its culture, its restraint. But restraint is not weakness. It's discipline sharpened by experience. And beneath all the progress, Earth remembered what it took to survive itself. The Warden was not their first response. He was their last word. Even among Earth's highest ranks, his existence was legend. Only 10 people had clearance to authorize reactivation. It took a full planetary consensus. When Elira vanished, Earth convened in silence. No speeches. No arguments. A single vote. And for the first time in 3 centuries, authorization was granted. No countdown. No public broadcast. Just a silent launch from beneath Europa's crust. His pod cracked the surface without a ripple. No signal. No flare. Just movement. Council sensors missed his departure. Vrake surveillance failed to track. But Earth's internal logs recorded one message transmitted from the stasis unit. 4 words. Objective acknowledged. Standing order restore. Kale Vorin wasn't awakened to negotiate. He wasn't brought back to terrorize. He was activated for one function only: recovery. The retrieval of a single human life. A child taken without consent, withheld by a system too slow to care. To him, There was no politics. No nuance. Only data. Mission parameters. Extraction paths. Obstacle reduction. He didn't ask why. He never did. In labs across the galaxy, alien biologists studied human evolution. They praised adaptability. They admired endurance. But they misunderstood direction. Human progress wasn't driven by peace. It was born in reaction to loss. And in Kale, that loss had been refined into method. There were no records of his combat style because he never repeated one. He didn't overpower. He adapted, rewrote strategy mid-conflict, executed with surgical indifference. His weaponry wasn't external. It was integrated, neuroreactive, fluid. A fusion of instinct and design. No AI. No remote control. Just Kale, calibrated to exceed what war demanded. He was faster than thought, colder than calculation, and not designed for survival, but dominance. The Council's archives had a single redacted entry about him, deemed unreliable. A statement from a captured enemy general after the fall of Titan. "We fought to the last man. He fought like we were already dead." And now, the man they buried beneath ice had resurfaced with one directive. Bring her back. Not one world. Not one fleet. Not one government knew how to stop what Earth had unleashed. Because he wasn't a soldier in search of war. He was a relic shaped by necessity. And nothing in this galaxy had prepared for a threat that didn't want to conquer, but correct. And Kale Voran was very, very good at correction. He moved without announcement. No trail, no communication, no wasted motion. From the moment Kale Voran left Europa, he ceased to exist in any conventional sense. Tracking systems lost him. Scanners failed. Surveillance AI flagged anomalies, patterns that didn't make sense, jumps between star systems too fast for ships, disruptions too clean to analyze. Council analysts debated theories. Cloaked fleet? Advanced wormholes? Coordinated strike teams? All incorrect. It was just him. The first Vrake ship died before anyone noticed. It didn't explode. It fractured. A surgical separation along the hull, systems still running as the halves drifted apart in silent vacuum. The crew's remains were catalogued later, perfectly intact but lifeless, no signs of struggle. One terminal survived, overwritten with a single symbol, Earth's planetary sigil, carved into hardened alloy with micron precision. The Vrake High Command denied the attack. Claimed sabotage. But then it happened again. Then again. Different locations. No pattern. No survivors. Not a war. A purge. No declaration. No demands. No broadcasts. Just silence followed by erasure. He wasn't sending messages. He was making statements. On Gorseth 4, a hidden Vrake outpost ceased transmission. 10 seconds after, orbital satellites blinked out. Recovery drones sent to investigate never returned. What remained was a flat crater with no thermal signature, no debris. On its edge, a Vrake data stone was fused into the ground, still hot, containing coordinates and a name. Elira. Vrake forces mobilized, but their pride outpaced their understanding. They prepared for ships. For armies. For fleets like theirs. What came wasn't tactical. It wasn't logical. It was relentless. Systems failed seconds before impact. Defenses locked out. Doors stayed open. Firewalls collapsed. Every security layer became a vulnerability. Wherever they ran, he was already there. On Mechari Station, a captured technician attempted to flee with intel. He made it 5 corridors before falling unconscious. Autopsy revealed non-lethal neural disruption. His memory wiped clean of time, but not intent. Voran didn't torture. He extracted. Took what he needed, left the rest behind. Efficient. Clean. Impossibly fast. Council observers began monitoring emergency Vrake channels. Fear had replaced arrogance. Field commanders avoided saying his name. Instead, they whispered, "The Shadow." Not metaphor. Literal. They'd review footage, No figure present. Yet targets dropped mid-step. Doors opened with no source. Power failed in rhythm with pulse spikes. No warning. No mercy. Kale found traces of Alira's path, fractured logs, erased jump codes, corrupted bioscans. Someone high-ranking had moved her, hidden her. Deep records pointed to the Noctis Rift, a lawless region ignored by the Council, full of pirate clans and exiled warlords. No protocols. No treaties. The perfect hiding place for those who believed power ensured safety. He didn't alter course. Didn't hesitate. Council appeals flooded Earth's channels, requesting negotiation. Mediation. Explanation. Earth responded once. This is not a war. It's retrieval. After that, nothing. Meanwhile, the Council attempted intervention. They sent 2 covert recon teams to intercept. Both vanished. No final reports. Only static and corrupted transmissions. A forensic trace from the second team's black box revealed a single line looped endlessly through the audio channel. Voron's voice. Do not follow. Internal panic spread. Council meetings grew divided. Some urged immediate confrontation. Others advised full withdrawal. A minority, those who knew history, suggested cooperation. But by then, it was too late. He'd already entered Noctis. The region's factions weren't prepared. They weren't part of galactic politics. They had no allegiances. But they recognized something they hadn't seen in centuries, a force without fear. He dismantled an entire mercenary fleet orbiting a black market moon by crashing one vessel into another, using gravity slingshot calculations with no margin for error. No survivors. No evidence. Just absence. Warlords tried to negotiate. Tried to intimidate. Tried to bribe. Kale listened. Then erased them. Not as punishment. As removal. Any name connected to Alira's movement disappeared. And as the pieces aligned, he saw it. A hidden base buried within a dead planetoid. Radiation shielded. Quantum cloaked. Not on any Vrake ledger. But the technician's memory held fragments. Enough to locate it. Enough to breach it. But he didn't attack. He walked in. No alarms triggered. No weapons activated. Every system failed on contact. Doors opened without input. Lights flickered. Inside, he found the final obstruction, an elite bioengineered warlord standing over Alira, unconscious but alive. The warlord spoke once. Kale didn't answer. He moved. 2 seconds later, the room fell quiet. The warlord's heart stopped mid-sentence. Alira opened her eyes. And for the first time since the beginning, Kale paused. Then he picked her up. No threats. No theatrics. Just motion. Extraction had begun. No alarms triggered. No fleets deployed. The rift didn't react because the rift was already empty. Word had spread before Kale reached the extraction point. By then, resistance had become surrender, and surrender became escape. Those who could flee did. Those who stayed vanished. The warlord who held Alira no longer exists in any official record. Not because Kale wanted silence, but because nothing was left to speak. He carried her through collapsed corridors and fractured tunnels. She was weak, barely conscious, but alive. Monitors registered recovery signs. No lasting injuries. No permanent trauma. He had arrived in time, and for him, that was enough. As they reached orbit, proximity sensors lit up. The Council had dispatched a fleet to intercept. Not Vrake. Not pirates. Not hostiles. Council security forces, neutral, authoritative, uninvited. They hailed him. Neutral tone, professional language, demands veiled in legal caution. Return the child for debrief. Submit for containment. Further action without approval constitutes a breach. Kale didn't respond. They repeated. Escalated. Declared emergency status. Dozens of vessels moved into position. Weapons powered but not locked. They were trying to show restraint. Kale didn't recognize restraint. Only barriers. Earth's response came first. One message from a civilian channel, broadcast in every language. She is human. She is home. Seconds later, the void fractured. Dozens of undetected Earth ships decloaked across the region. No standard formations. No warning signatures. Silent. Unregistered. They weren't standard Navy vessels. They didn't broadcast identity. They moved like predators, not military, but ancient, sharpened to a point. The Council fleet hesitated. Some turned targeting arrays toward Earth's ships. Others wavered. An admiral demanded clarification. Another requested de-escalation. But the warden didn't wait. He stepped through the airlock, Alira still in his arms, and moved toward the nearest open channel. He spoke only once. You were told. It wasn't a threat. It was a reminder. Behind him, the black ships began to spread. No weapons deployed. Just presence. Silent acknowledgement that Earth had never been unprepared. They hadn't needed fleets. They had hidden what mattered. For centuries, humanity spoke of peace while building in silence, storing capability not for conquest, but for moments like this. The Council scrambled to react. Emergency committees formed. Diplomatic orders issued. Threat assessments recalculated. But none of it mattered. Alira had been taken. The request had been ignored. Now Earth acted, and the consequences were not theoretical. The Council ordered withdrawal. Too late. Earth's ships had already locked space. Communications began failing. Navigation stuttered. Council vessels found themselves isolated, not by force, but by information denial. Every system began misfiring, not from attack, but from quiet override. Earth had been listening. Mapping. Preparing. They hadn't disabled the Council. They had replaced them before the Council knew there was a fight. The Council's flagship attempted a final transmission. A request to speak directly with Earth's representatives. A plea for reason. The reply came not from diplomats, but from Earth's Deep Code AI, a system older than the Alliance itself. The voice that answered was digital, emotionless, surgical. Earth recognizes no jurisdiction over its children. Then silence. Kale moved past their ships. No one fired. No one followed. They couldn't. Anything that tried lost power, drifted helplessly, reactivated only after he was gone. The Council called it a withdrawal. Earth didn't name it at all. Alira's vitals stabilized mid-transit. She opened her eyes slowly, looked up, and whispered a question. Are we safe? Kale nodded. Yes. No speeches followed. No victory declared. No parades. Just a transmission back to Earth. Objective retrieved. Stand down initiated. Earth's ships vanished. Not warped. Vanished. Not one trace left behind. The Council logged the event as an anomaly. Internally, they labeled it a containment failure. Politically, they said nothing. But internally, across secure channels, military commanders updated their doctrines. Training simulations were rewritten. Strategic protocols reformed. New drills implemented, not against invasion, but for evacuation. And the name Voron was added to restricted archives, under one new classification. Never engage. The rift fell silent. Pirate clans disbanded. Rake leadership denied involvement. Their records purged any trace of Alira's transfer. Not to hide guilt, but to eliminate association. No one wanted to be remembered as part of the event that justified Earth's final sanction. And Kale Voron returned the same way he had arrived, unseen, unannounced, and absolute. His job wasn't justice. It wasn't vengeance. It was restoration. And once completed, he disappeared. Not into myth. Back into containment. Because Earth didn't need a symbol. It only needed her back. They didn't call it a war, but the consequences echoed louder than any declared conflict. The Council resumed operations, but tension spread in the silence Earth left behind. They had reclaimed their child without permission, bypassed every channel, dismantled opposition without a formal strike, then vanished. No claims. No terms. Just an outcome no one could contest. Earth filed no complaint. Earth offered no explanation. They simply removed their presence from all diplomatic forums. Delegates whispered behind closed doors. Questions shifted from blame to caution. If humanity could deploy a force like Voron without detection, what else had they hidden? For years, Earth had played the role of cooperative newcomer, eager and respectful. Now, that image cracked. It wasn't a facade, it was restraint. One carefully maintained, patiently held, and instantly discarded the moment they were forced to choose between policy and protection. Alira didn't return to the council. She didn't give interviews. She appeared once, broadcast live across neutral systems, seated calmly before a tribunal. Her voice was steady. She recounted no torture, no wounds of flesh. But her final words lingered longer than any report. You asked us to wait. To follow process. To be patient. We did. And you didn't listen. So we stopped asking. That statement reshaped the galactic structure more than any fleet ever could. The Council, embarrassed, initiated reforms. Protocols for child protection were implemented. The Voron Clause, drafted and passed within one cycle, ensured that no sentient minor could be detained, questioned, or relocated without unanimous oversight. But no one dared cite the real reason behind its urgency. His name never entered the official record. It didn't need to. Every species with memory knew. Recruitment across Council forces shifted overnight. Training now included entire segments on human response patterns. Diplomats studied Terran psychology with new intensity. Military tacticians quietly formed contingency plans, not for war, but for avoidance. Strategic projections reclassified Earth not as an emerging player, but a variable. Unmeasurable. Unpredictable. Unchallengeable if provoked. The Vrake, once dominant in their sector, withdrew entirely. Their presence dissolved. Their leaders replaced. Their archives rewritten. Not from outside pressure, but from inside fear. They didn't just lose power. They lost credibility. No force had touched their homeworld, yet their influence collapsed. They had taken a child, underestimated her world, and invited the impossible. And the galaxy had watched it happen. Kale Voron was not mentioned again. He wasn't honored. He wasn't discussed. His file was sealed in the Council's deepest records under multiple encryptions. Every attempt to track his re-entry point failed. No logs. No scans. Only Earth's signature, locked, blank, inaccessible. Analysts tried to find patterns, data trails, structural weaknesses. They found nothing. Earth hadn't just planned ahead, they'd stayed quiet long enough for everyone else to forget they ever needed to. In backrooms across systems, powerful species debated their position. If humanity had weapons like Voron buried, unused for centuries, how many more existed? How many names unspoken? Was he the first? Or just the only one they'd seen? Earth offered no reassurance. They sent no fleets. They held no borders. But from that moment forward, no human diplomatic vessel was ever delayed, searched, or denied entry again. Not because of influence. Because of memory. Children born after the incident grew up hearing stories. Not fairy tales. Not legends. Just facts passed in whispers, designed not to frighten, but to prevent repetition. A single mistake had rewritten the balance of peace. No territory changed hands. No economy fell. But something deeper had shifted. Humanity became more than participant. They became a precedent. Kale returned to containment on Earth's terms. No one saw it happen. No confirmation came. But somewhere, beneath frozen layers, he waits, unchanged, uncelebrated, untouched. Not a soldier. Not a myth. A solution, sealed until needed. Because Earth doesn't posture. It doesn't parade. It remembers. And that memory became the galaxy's new doctrine, unwritten, unspoken, but absolute. Do not take from them what they love. They will ask once. Then never again.